do this video that is basically talking about some of the potential issues that are causing, they're not potential issues, they're real issues that are here in Tacoma. Lately, there's been a spike in crime. Now, some people will say, not lately, there's always been crime. And yes, you're not going to have a city that does not have crime issues. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. I had to turn that fan off. It was hitting the blinds and making a noise. But anyway, so there has been a increase in car break-ins and people stealing catalytic converters, right? And it has become such a problem where you're seeing a lot of people who are exasperated because going to the police department or filing a report a lot of times doesn't do anything. The police will tell you that, they'll try to do the best that they can and look out for a potential person, but basically, best of luck to you. They'll try to find your car if the car is stolen, which we've seen a lot of cars being stolen. They may try to look out and try to find that, but really, you're just fresh out of luck. It's kind of as if with the police, not only here, but in most places, unless the police are there right when it happens, they're not going to do much. But when it comes to people, the whole stealing packages is still a thing. It's not as, it's still a thing. I'm not going to say it's not as bad. It's still a thing. You just don't hear about it as much. But what you do see a lot of is just the regular vigilante type stupid stuff. People busting windows. I told you about how I heard someone bust the neighbor's window and with a rock. They were just driving down the road, threw something at their window and busted it. Right? Why? And these are teenagers who are trying to find something, or early 20s, trying to find something fun to do at someone else's expense. But you do have a lot of that where they're not taking anything. They're just busting windows just because they think it's fun. And so you have that type of stuff. You have stuff where people are breaking into homes. We heard about that down in Spanaway where someone broke into a home and a homeowner gave somebody their last rites. Right? So it's not it's not a good thing that we're having a spike in crime. Now, some of this is the natural flow of things. You're going to have crime. If you're going to have people, you're going to have crime. Right? The one place where people are, and there have not been a crime that we know of, is space. Maybe Antarctica. But other than that, no matter where you go, you're going to have crime. No matter what the city is, you're going to have crime. It seems like it's escalated quite a bit in the last little bit of time, right? You're seeing a lot of, up in Seattle, there's been a lot of street crime where folks are just breaking into places, stealing stuff, doing all that type of stuff. You're seeing a lot of that, and it's just a lot of loitering downtown and stuff like that. A lot of homeless encampments and just all that stuff. Tents everywhere, all over downtown. They've cleaned a lot of that up recently, but it's left a lasting impression. Tacoma does not have the tents all over downtown. However, in Hillside, we did have a tent encampment along the planting strip. Then that was moved, and it was also in one of the parks, and that was removed by the city, and the city proposed tiny villages, which they're cool, the whole tiny village thing, but I think it's kind of stupid, and I'll go into why I think it's stupid. It doesn't do enough. So then, so that was kind of resolved somewhat, but there's still a bit of an issue there. You then had where folks started to go over to the truck stop down there on Puyallup, I believe. So there's like a truck stop area, but it's where trucks can actually fuel up. They're not really, it's not really a tree truck stop, but they park their trucks over there. homeless encampment started to form over there. Because keep in mind, there is an area for homeless people that the city has designated kind of a little bit down the street from that. Well, now you're having a cluster over in that area that has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. It's on Sound Transit property. Then you have down there by the bridge on 25th Street under the 705 bridge, I-705, you have an encampment that is monstrously big. Someone videotaped the whole thing and showed the entire encampment. We're also seeing a spike in crime downtown. You're seeing not necessarily a bunch of break-ins as much, but you are seeing issues on the street. Like there's certain sections where over there by Wright Park, for example, there's been some issues and a business left that area and moved farther into downtown. In the core of downtown, things are still good. So there's not issues in downtown as much. You see what I'm saying? You don't have as much issue. Mainly because there's just more people. I go back to what I've said to folks before. As soon as the people are gone, which is what you're seeing up in Seattle, crime ticks back up because there's a vacuum, and criminals are going to be like, "Oh, look at that store. No one's going in it. They're going to bust out the windows. There's nobody walking around like normal. They're going to bust in." It's a problem. We don't have that as much down here, but we are seeing it kind of as you leave downtown. There are places outside of downtown where people are busting into things and taking stuff. There's an axe throwing company here. Someone busted into that, I think last night, and stole all of the axes that are in there. There's a business that we know about that went through the cohort when we did, and they make and produce T-shirts. In fact, they're called the T-shirt men. They've been broken into twice within the last little bit, I think within a month. Over in Hilltop, I think it is, I don't know, it could be I think it may be the Back Hats or something, I'm not sure. But it's been broken into 3 or 4 times, right? Where people break in, take stuff, and that has escalated. Those things have not happened before. We're seeing stuff over in the Lincoln District, which is basically our Chinatown and International District. But there has been there's a Vietnamese place that's been there forever. It was broken into, right? You're seeing a lot of that. There's a teriyaki place, an Asian teriyaki place on 64th, I believe. That was has been broken into several times. So I mention these because they're all over the city. There's many other stories people can tell you. It's all over the city. And it's not necessarily just due to homelessness. It's also due to people who are thugging. So you do have people who are just straight up thugs, and they're going to steal, men and women, black and white, and Hispanic and Asian. You got some thugs that will just steal anything. You have some people that are dope fiends that's going to steal some stuff. You got some people who it's around Christmas holiday time, so they're stealing stuff. And you do have those who are homeless who are looking to steal stuff because, for whatever reasons, they need it. So there's all these different issues, right? The question is, how is the city going to handle it? Now, a lot of businesses have gotten pretty upset because, again, I mentioned catalytic converters. A lot of cars, personal cars, that has happened to. People have, come out and the car is making a loud noise. Their catalytic converter's been taken. Some people, they come out, the car is gone. Somebody took their car. And again, going to the police is kind of pointless. So now the city is looking at trying to enact electric fencing. Now, to me, it is stupid that Tacoma has rules against things like barbed wire and electric fencing. You have to get a special permit. I think that is the most foolish, stupidest, dumbest thing ever. If the police are not going to do anything, give businesses and people, residents, the ability to be able to protect themselves at least. But you can't have an electric fence because they're afraid you're going to hurt someone. Well, obviously, No one's going to be helping when someone's stuff is stolen, right? Give businesses and residents the ability to protect themselves. Otherwise, similar to Seattle, people will vote with their feet and leave. And so we're seeing over and over again where this this happens, and trying to get the attention of the city to say, look, let's do something more, it's becoming a louder and louder call, right? It's becoming louder and louder. Now, what's the solution and the fix? I don't know. I think one of the solutions would be to definitely have put in more cameras around the city. I think the city itself should have its own command center that has cameras in hot zone areas, areas that are always getting hit. There needs to be cameras. Now, there would be some people say, you're infringing on my rights. Well, I mean, it's out in the public. We're not zooming into someone's home, but there needs to be cameras. For two, there needs to be a much more greater increase in police. Now, you have some people who are not very bright, and there's some people that are smart enough to understand the difference, but they just want to be complicated. And we're finding out now when people play politics, there's a heavy cost that sometimes they don't think about. You're seeing that in the news. Playing politics and being stupid can really, really hurt you. There does need to be police reform. And when people come up with the whole defund the police, what they were talking about was not completely defunding. Some were saying abolish, and that's stupid. But and those are extremists. But there were people who were saying that instead of giving them the money for these big tanks and everything else that they used to terrorize the black community with and the Hispanic community with, take that stuff away and use that money appropriately for different things. Better training so that they can handle that, more racial diversity in terms of the hiring class, all of this, de-escalation techniques. There's a lot of things now that's, again, in the court system, they're like, you're way over heavy-handed. It's just been a typical culture. This is not an attack against police. I think people now need to stop being so stupid. You can't talk about certain groups of people because that's a no-no, but it's like, no. There are good police and bad police. Simple as that. And so you have to treat all. You can't just say, well, we're going to go after Johnny and we're going to go after Tom and we're going to go after this particular person and Todd. No, you're going to go after all of them. All of them needs to have different training, right? So I think that there should be more police hired. I also think there should be support services as well, because a lot of times with de-escalation, you need the right people who know how to de-escalate, not just your average everyday cop. They don't know how to do de-escalation. They do have people that from time to time will talk someone off a ledge, or they will come in whenever there's a hostage situation, but sometimes there needs to be a de-escalation type person that's trained in law enforcement that can do that. That's always there. There needs to be counselors within the police department, right? I think in Seattle they were doing that, where counselors would go with police down into some of these homeless encampments and ask people if they're okay, right? And so it's stuff like that that's needed. Having the police to just basically be the henchmen, I think is just stupid. That process does not work, and that's been policing in the United States for the last whatever time, right? It doesn't work. And I think that's the key. But we have some people who think that police should solve every issue. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. Police are not designed to handle every single issue. They should not be used for every single issue. So then when we have big issues that need police's attention, we can't, because police are being called to handle loud noises. Police are being called because there's a scary black dude that's going into his own apartment. Police are being called for stupid stuff. So when people really do have a problem, the police are overtaxed. So part of the whole defunding the police, or basically reforming police, which is a better term, is saying that, hey, have police do actual crime fighting and not have them be counselors, not have them go out and, Bobby done cheated on Tammy, and so now Tammy's mad, and so everybody in the neighborhood's calling because she's throwing stuff. That shouldn't be the police. You see what I'm saying? The police don't have, a lot of them are not trained in that type of stuff. They're not. You could be a high school graduate and be a police officer. I'm not saying anything wrong about that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the one profession, when you were talking about the whole court system and the legalese, that does not require a college degree. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people are just going on what they've learned through life and the training that they get in the police department, and that's just not enough. There needs to be more, for sure. The world's much more complicated. But the whole tiny home village thing, I think, is stupid because, again, in America, it's the whole concept that everybody should have a home. Everybody should have a house. And that's just not the reality. America has a lot of land. And so we're accustomed to everybody should have a house. No, everybody should not have a house because not everybody can afford to keep that house up. And not every place is designed to have houses. And to be honest with you, a lot of houses create sprawl. There needs to be more of a clustering effect. If you look at Hong Kong, nobody has private homes as much. Not a lot of people have private homes as much. You don't see homes like this in Hong Kong. It's just too many people, not enough land, right? It doesn't make sense. You see that in other places where not everybody's going to have an individual single home. Tiny homes kind of reinforce that by saying, look, you can't have a big home, but we'll give you a tiny one. Instead, there's a lot of warehouses here in Tacoma, and people are saying, you're talking about warehousing people? No. But there's a lot of warehouses here in Tacoma that just sit and nobody's doing anything with them, right? Maybe they're out of date. Maybe companies that are looking for warehouse space, they're like, these are old first generation warehouses. We're more for the new modern ones that have this type of capability and that type of capability. So these old warehouses, no one's using. The city should buy those warehouses, update and modernize them quite a bit, right? Put on a whole new roof and all of that, and literally turn that entire thing into a space for people who are homeless, right? There's somebody that came up, the new generation has so many unique words for people and situations, right? They create words, right? Well, the other day I saw something where this person, instead of saying suicide, they said that the person unalived himself. This generation, everything has a unique classification and words and all this. It's stupid. But anyway, there's one for homelessness, right? And I forget what they said. And I'm like, it's kind of clever, but let's just stick to the facts and call it what it is. Person's homeless. So I think that the city, similar to what has been done in other places, there was a lady that was a business owner. She created pods where literally you take an open format and you build walls within it, similar to what you have in co-working spaces. Instead of building an office, you build a very small room. So therefore, you can have bunk beds in there. You can put a whole family in there. They're not massively big. No one has a living room. No one has, it's a place for beds only. And you can have some storage. They have a common area where people can go take showers and bathrooms and stuff like that. They have an area where there's a kitchen where people can cook and do whatever they want to do. It's all inside of one building. So therefore, people have their own particular space. It's protected. There's lights, there's showers, there's everything. There should be counseling services. Doing that makes more sense than taking vacant land and putting up some storage sheds. Now, is there more money on the front end that you have to put? Absolutely. There is. Is this going to solve the solution for everything? No, because people who are homeless have so many huge bucket of issues, right? Huge bucket of issues. The ones that are able to go to this should be the ones that basically want to be off of drugs. I do think that those who don't want to be off drugs, I think there should be a public nuisance law that basically says, look, this person's always strung out on drugs. You see it on Kensington Street in Philadelphia, people just standing and leaning over and all this type of stuff. It should be some sort of a public nuisance law that says, you know what, there are people who are literally loitering on the sidewalk getting high all day. And you basically, the police issues a citation and they take pictures of this person, say, look, on day such and such, this person was, standing here, shooting up or whatever. And so we gave them a citation saying, look, you need to go and get help or treatment. Do not loiter on the street, right? And offer them treatment. They're going to deny it. Cool. Then, give it some time. You can't, every single day or the same day, the next week or the next 2 weeks, you go, you see that person again. You look them up in a system, second situation where we have someone who is loitering and on drugs. We can tell they're on drugs, all of this. You keep that information. Then on the third time, so it's 3 strikes, we saw this. At that point, they should be able to hand this off to a caseworker. The police job is done. Or maybe not even use the police. Maybe it should be somewhat social workers who are doing this, who are saying, look, this is what we're doing. We're offering these services. Therefore, a police officer can vet that. Take one cop that is roaming with these folks. The cop just stands by and provides security for them. And let the social workers do their job. Offer that. After 3 strikes, it should be then signed by a law enforcement officer that, yes, I witnessed this each and every single time. Every time they see that. That should then go to the court, and a judge should be able to say, yes, after these many different times, you are a public nuisance, you've declined to get help. Now at this point in time, you now have to go into drug treatment. It's as simple as that. You're going into drug treatment or you go to jail. Simple as that. Now, some people will say that's a little heavy-handed. That's the only thing I could think of, is to say this is the way that this is going to work. Either you voluntarily go and get help and treatment and you're on the pathway to do what you need to do. That's going to be some. Some people are looking for that. There's going to be others who just want to get their next fix. And it's like, no, not here. This is not the town where you want to come and do that. Because if you do, we're going to basically say, citywide, we're going to say, if we catch you out here and you're homeless and whatnot, we're going to offer services. You get 3 tries. We're going to offer you services. If we were to catch you again within a 12-month period here, and we see this, and we have documented proof, because we will have it, then you're going to have to get treatment. And so therefore, it may be mental health treatment, it may be drug treatment, it may be whatever. It's up to the counselors and social workers to say, look, this is the type of treatment this person needs, this is what we recommend. And it's up to a judge to say, yep. Have a judge review all of those types of cases in one particular day and decide yes or no. That yeah, you can, or no, you can't. To me, that makes sense. Now, there's probably a ton of legal issues with that, but that makes sense. The whole tiny home thing, it's cool, it's trendy, but it really doesn't solve the issue, because those homes are not built to last. A. B, yes, they do have social workers there to help people, but this, again, is not, swallowing up land. There's a much more efficient, practical, long-term solution where you can take a building that's just sitting there, that's basically going to be a fire target. You can then fix that up, provide security, make sure you have police that are there. They rotate out. A cop just, hanging out in there, right? There needs to be breaks for police too. Sometimes police need to be able to just have a job where, yep, whew, all I got to do is just, I'm on the clock, but all those calls I ain't got to deal with. I'm just here. Unless it's a bad situation, then they would have to leave. But yeah, there should be situations like that where the police are just kind of there to make sure nothing goes nuts, right? Because no one else has the arresting capability other than police. So the social workers are there to just help in the situation, right? I think that will solve a lot of stuff. And when it comes to homelessness, I think that having more police who are on bicycle patrols, in downtown, there should be bicycle cops. There should also be cops that are just kind of walking around. Some of the hotspot areas, same thing. There should be cameras. So yeah, I absolutely think that we should hire more police. But I also think, with all the money that Tacoma has gotten from COVID and other things, instead of buying a hotel, because again, it goes back into the same thing. You have your own private room, you have your own bathroom, you have your own, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. In this man cave, you can literally put 3 different rooms in this, and they're not big. It's not meant to be, and I'm not saying put people in cages. The whole point of these is this provides you a place to sleep, right? A safe place to sleep, a safe place to store your stuff. A lot of people that are homeless, that's their biggest thing is, what about my stuff? Somebody's going to take it. You have a safe place for that. Everyone that comes in has to be checked for guns and drugs and weapons and all that every time they come and leave. They're able to freely come and go as much as they would like, but they have to go through their scanner and all this stuff. There should be activities in there. There should be job training programs that are outside of that. There should be all these different things that can help get them on a pathway to have their own place. This should be a temporary thing. There's no need for people to get cozy. It's to say, look, let's try to move you out of being a part of the system and being a contributor to society, right? There are some people that just need that. But having, in Seattle, there's like an RV that's a 2-story to me, and they put plywood up to make it a taller. To me, that should be looked at as a public nuisance. Personally, now there are some people who will say, "Well, that's cruel." Well, again, from a business standpoint, you're not going to get business when you have stuff like that, and businesses that are there will eventually leave. So then what do you do now? You take a company that's contributing to paying for roads, paying for city salaries, paying for all of this stuff, and they decide to leave, or citizens who are contributing to help keep the city afloat. Those people get tired and say, you know what, I can go to another city and never have to deal with that because they have a different setup. Right or wrong, they have a different program on how they handle it. And now you're stuck with basically a population of people that still keeps growing. And there's no solution because they look at it as, look, nobody really cares about us anyway. And B, no one seems to stop what's going on. So, hey, just come on in and enjoy. If you're homeless, come on in and join. There needs to be more things done to basically say, this is not the county you want to go to if you're thinking that, hey, I can do whatever I want to do. Learn from the mistakes of Seattle, in my opinion. But anyhow, tell me what you think. Maybe I'm completely off base. I mean, sometimes that does happen, right? Anyhow, be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.